everybody, Crypto Mentor 99. How you doing? It is March 27th, 2018, and I have the honor and privilege of having Saab, co-founder and chief operations officer of the Walla Financial Platform. Samer, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And I just want to let everybody know from the get-go, I accidentally found Walla on a YouTube video about 10 days ago, and I listened to Samer and Trisha about 3 or 4 hours of video, and I am hooked on this project. I haven't invested in it yet because I can't get any tokens yet. But full disclosure, I love this product. I love the platform. And so we're going to dive into it. Samer, let me ask you a question just from the beginning that I ask everyone. Did you just roll out of bed one day and say, hey, today's the day that I'm going to get interested in cryptocurrency? Or how did you kind of fall in, not so much Walla and the dollar token, but how did you kind of fall out of bed one day and say, hey, this crypto stuff is interesting?
Actually, I remember it very, very clearly. It was Mark Andreessen, partner at Andreessen Horowitz, founder of Netscape, right? Yeah. In 2013, 2014, I think it was 2013, wrote this op-ed in the New York Times.
Wow.
About the potential and the importance of Bitcoin. And it blew my mind. And it was at that point that I started really following the space. First time I bought Bitcoin, and of course I bought right before one of the biggest crashes. So I hadn't really dove in yet at that point, but I was involved. I was watching. I was interested. Fast forward a few years, and the interest started to grow in 2016 and 2017, and with what we were building at Walla, being an emerging markets focused financial platform, especially in a region where you have 54 countries and 41 different currencies, and wanting to make this platform a global solution, we always knew that crypto was in our roadmap.
Wow.
But it wasn't actually until the maturity of the system came in the last year and a half, last 2 years, that it became an immediate opportunity for us to deliver the benefits of crypto to consumers. And that's when the interest really soared for us.
Okay, and I guess I should know this after watching 4 hours of videos of you guys. Did Trisha Martinez find you, who's the other co-founder, or did you find her and say, let's start working together?
So we were friends working together in an incubator in Chicago called 1871. We were at the time both working on separate startups. Unfortunately, those two startups failed, but I guess fortunately now we're able to work together. But Trisha had already started working on this interesting problem, and she was diving into the unbanked problem in emerging markets. That's where her background and her passion had always been. And she asked me to help her with some modeling, some product-oriented items, and things started to take off.
Wow.
Well beyond what she could control. She was just doing research, and through this research, she started getting all this traction with users. She had no product. She had nothing. She was just answering people's questions. And amazingly, in 1 month of engaging with consumers, she had built this community in Facebook of over 100,000 people just in Uganda.
That was the first video that I heard her talk about that. I'm like, I need to listen to her. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just absurd because, first of all, I mean, this is a couple years ago. To think that there are 100,000 people just in Kampala, Uganda, that even have Facebook is remarkable.
Right.
And then to then understand how quickly you were able to engage with all these people, she was really onto something. And so she asked me to help her to come on board and help figure out what the hell we were doing here.
Sure.
What are the problems, and how do we productize this? How do we solve these problems for consumers? And Trisha said something to me that sort of blew my mind. and that was the all these consumers have are loans. People just throw loans at them, or people just try and put these payment systems out that are really expensive. They don't really solve any problems. But what they really need is a proper store of value, because all they are is cash-based consumers. No matter what,
Sure.
whether it's mobile money or whether it's bank, they still prefer to have cash. They'll take it out of their wallets or whatever, and they will put it in a lockbox and keep it under their mattress, under their huts, in their homes, wherever. And that prevents them from growing economically. It prevents them from saving. It prevents them from accessing low-cost credit. And that is the biggest problem facing the emerging market consumer. I was like, that was so profound to me. It was such a simple solution. Get someone into a free account and then let them grow from there.
So once you kind of came on board with Trisha, it'd be an understatement to say that you hit the ground running, right? I mean, you were just trying to run to catch up with everybody, right? I mean, kind of the demand and the interest, right? Or no?
Yeah, absolutely. So the community that I'm talking about, I think when I joined, there were about 100,000 people. It's well over 1 million people now, and that's not just Uganda, South Africa, and there are people represented from throughout the region. And in fact, we've had to limit the number of people that can come in because it gets so big, and we want to be able to service these people, but it's hard to give people that much attention when these communities grow that big, that fast. So we've been actively pushing towards the development of the Wallet Financial Platform that is meant to service the needs that we have been able to suss out thanks to these communities. It's been the opportunity for us to speak directly with these consumers, understand their problems, and figure out how to design a product and a service that actually addresses those problems.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's not switch gears, but let me ask you this, which I know part of the answer, but for the listeners and subscribers that are watching, like when you hear about like an ICO or like a project, one of the first questions people ask is, Sammer, what problem are you guys trying to solve? So I could answer that, but it wouldn't be the best answer. So could you give us some insights as to what problem you guys are trying to solve, please?
Yes, absolutely. So we're addressing the financial issues that hurt the emerging market consumer, and that problem is twofold. The first is access, and the second is cost. So access, for a consumer, they have a few different ways that they can access the financial system. Banks, mobile network operators who provide mobile money, and then the problems with banks is that they follow the typical branch-based approach to servicing. But branches are expensive. They don't scale. The infrastructure doesn't scale. So it can be very hard for consumers to geographically reach banks. And then on the mobile network operator side, the MNOs, they've done actually a great job of providing access because they've enabled anyone with a mobile phone to get a wallet. The problem is that those wallets, whenever you transact with them, whenever you send money, deposit, withdraw, pay, they come with a fee. And those fees can actually become too expensive for a consumer to stay engaged with. And so what ends up happening is the consumer reverts to what they know and trust most, cash.
Right.
And cash is the ultimate problem.
Wow. Okay. And talk about this a little bit. This actually sunk in deeper this morning when I was listening to one of your 32-minute videos. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm surprised I didn't pick this up in other videos that I watched about you guys. So tell everybody how the dollar token is actually way bigger than the Wallet platform. So in other words, the dollar token is going to grow. I don't want to say it's going to outgrow Walla because I don't know how to actually phrase the question, but tell us how and explain how the dollar token is actually bigger than the Walla financial platform.
Happy. Important distinction, because it is important to note that Walla and Dala are two separate entities trying to solve two different problems. Let me start with Walla. Walla is a financial platform. that aims to engage consumers in the digital financial system by providing them access to bank accounts, mobile wallets where necessary, loans, insurance, any sort of financial products or services that they need. Also, we want to offer consumers access to any sort of payment rails that they may need, whether it is through dollar, fiat currency, or whatever is more efficient and more useful for the users. But we are trying to get consumers to go from being cash-based to fully engaged. Now, Dala is an important part of our strategy. What Dala enables us to do is provide consumers with that very, very low-cost, instant payment system. And that is a payment system that not only works between consumers in a country, but between consumers globally. We're able to, through the Dala token, provide consumers with micropayments at nearly no cost to any other consumer or wallet or enterprise anywhere in the world, which, again, on a continent of 54 countries, can be very powerful.
Wow, that's awesome. And another thing that I learned about 2 days ago, and we talked a little bit about it during the pre-interview, tell everybody, and I find this, I'm a people person, I find this absolutely fascinating, Samer, and we talked about this during the pre-interview. Tell everybody how the African community, they kind of marry savings and investing on not an individual level, but on a community level. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I think one of the amazing things is that, this is not a charity enterprise. This has nothing to do with charity. There is so much potential and opportunity. And one of the first sort of profound experiences that I had was the statement that if you give the most efficient way to deliver or help someone get out of poverty is by handing them $1. No other form of aid, whether it's food, education, medical, has the same impact as if you give $1 to someone in need, because that person can better utilize that dollar because they know how to stretch that and make that work. Now, the same thing applies within these communities. If the communities in these underserved regions, the banks don't work for them. The existing systems don't work for them. So they've figured out how to develop their own systems within their community, within the organizations of people that they trust to save together, to invest together, to look to one another. So you get this stronger sense of community and rely on individuals that way, which is actually interesting because it's sort of a microcosm of how the blockchain works. There is no central trusted entity. It's just a collection of individuals who then are transacting together or verifying each other and holding each other accountable for their activities in this financial relationship.
Wow, that's awesome. Again, I'm serious. This is awesome. So could you speak into this a little bit? Like kind of, I think too many people in the United States, I can't speak for Europeans or, someone from Australia, but we're so, and I'm trying to get out of this mindset, so I have to blame myself too. When you look at these ICOs or projects, you're thinking, well, what's the numbers? Like, what's my return on investment? And in the last 6 months, I'm so far past that. Like, I tell people on my channel, I don't even care what prices are now. I'm thinking more for my grandchildren that are 8, 6, 4, and 2 years old. Like, I don't care if something goes up 80% and down 4,000% the next day. I don't care. I'm interested about the project. Long-winded on that, sorry. Could you give us sort of cast some vision for us for the roadmap for the dollar token and, where you guys see it kind of going in the next year or 2 or 5 or somewhere down the road, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're currently in alpha with the Dollar Network. We are about 3 weeks away from launching the beta of the network and the Walla financial platform to go along with it. We're currently targeting our first three markets, which are South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Uganda, where the bulk of our community is. And the goal is to take sort of three different paths to acquisition. One primarily is to go after consumers, so start solving their problems. And as you start to solve consumer problems, start to sign up and engage merchants. So merchants being your retailers, or even the small mom and pops, or the small shops that are in the townships or the villages that maybe one person providing some goods to consumers. And then the third piece is actually starting to engage outside of Walla, partners at the enterprise level. So engage corporations, engage other startups, engage other entities that can find value from Dala, because Dala does have tons of potential and appeal outside of what Walla is doing. And the goal is that we can engage as Dala more and more partners, more and more enterprises, merchants, consumers that go way beyond Walla, so that it has value to consumers throughout not just this region, but all of Africa, and then even beyond as well.
Wow, that's awesome. I saw a video that was only 3 or 4 minutes about 4 or 5 days ago, and it was a gentleman that was interviewing Trisha, okay? And one of his questions, I think he was from South Africa, and one of his questions was something about, well, what makes Walla not so good, but like, what's your inside edge? And again, I'm not trying to be funny, this blew me away. Trisha said, well, we live part of our year, I don't know how much, it's none of my business, but we live on the ground in Africa with the people. And I'm going, this team, maybe not everybody is in South Africa, all the time, but I'm going, it's like, I just thought that was so refreshing, because there's nothing wrong with being a financial person sitting at a desk in New York, in Chicago, in LA, in Miami. But when you got the co-founders on the ground, as my dad would say, rubbing shoulders with the people, that's huge. So tell everybody about, not so much that strategy, but why are you guys on the ground with the people trying to grow the platform, for lack of a better word?
Listen, I mean, you already said it. There's no way. So we have the advantage of this massive community, right? And so they would tell us all the problems, but you can't actually experience it without seeing it with your own eyes, without being in the environment, without engaging in the system, without engaging with the consumers, the merchants, or whoever you're trying to serve. Our team has 3 Americans on it, including myself, and then we have all relocated to South Africa. But it's also important to note that South Africa, or Cape Town, where we are, is unlike any other place as well. Every country is different. There are some similarities, but there are challenges. And so you actually have to be everywhere. And you can't just have local, there's no local African knowledge. There is Ugandan knowledge, there's Zimbabwe knowledge, there's Cape Town knowledge, there's Joburg, there's Port Elizabeth. So you really, really have to get down to that level. You can design the greatest protocol, you can design the greatest blockchain, but who's going to go out and actually solve the problems for consumers where they're at? Then you need to go to them to get them engaged, because they're not going to find you.
Okay, and I'm just kind of interested about this. We didn't talk about this during the pre-interview, but of all the ICOs or projects that I've either read about or interviewed people, and not all of them would be necessarily like in another country like you guys are doing, but this is the first time I've ever in 2 years have heard about any project, any what I call, main leadership team being on the ground in whatever country or area that they're trying to make an impact. Was that Trisha's idea, or did someone tell you guys, hey, this might be a good idea, or do you have to do it because of the nature of the project?
So we had a chance to go through a TechStars program in London a few years back, and it was there when we were first getting advice from advisors that they were pushing us and really stressing the benefit. We had at that point we were still deciding if the best place to be located for our company was going to be here, and we ultimately made the decision that not only was being here the best opportunity for us from the perspective of being close to consumers, but from a talent perspective, Cape Town afforded us the opportunity to get some terrific team members, so terrific engineers. Our CTO is from Cape Town. Our last 8 engineers or 6 engineers are all from Cape Town.
Wow.
And in addition to understanding the local market, they have fintech expertise and experience, which was very important to us. And that is you can't really take that for granted.
Okay, unbelievable. Yeah, wow, amazing. Couple last things. Tell us about I don't know if it was last week or maybe 8 or 9 days ago, but I'm a little embarrassed because I did a video on it, but it's escaping me. Tell us about, was it a $10 million project that you guys were approved for farmers to buy fertilizer or no?
Yeah, let me give you the high level because there are some confusing details and it's not worth getting into.
Okay.
So back in December, so while our initial sale was going on, we were approached by a company called Block, and this entity is a company that works to provide commodity solutions for farmers and other types of and other areas inside of sub-Saharan Africa. So one of their solutions is to deliver fertilizer to farmers and then do so on credit to be able to provide them with this high quality product that will then increase their yields and then increase their profits as this is their primary source of income. Now, the problem that this company has faced is that they're an international company. They're headquartered in London, and they want to invest millions of dollars and then close this fertilizer gap that exists. So, I believe in Uganda, the average amount of fertilizer is about 2 kilograms per hectare, but the actual need is about 40 kilograms per hectare.
Whoa.
So there's a massive, massive gap. And the result of what happens is that these farmers end up paying massive premiums for whatever fertilizer comes into the country. But to make matters worse, the fertilizer that they're getting is not the good stuff that was sourced into the country. It's the stuff that was cut up and
right,
ends up being a shit product at the end.
Yeah.
Pardon my pun.
Sure.
So they get screwed both ways. And so we partnered with this entity to enable them to provide this service to farmers and do so at lower costs and do so at lower interest rate to make this a profitable endeavor for them and for farmers. And the reason that this works is that crypto enables them to invest from a global stance, facilitate this, have transparency in the system, not rely on expensive either mobile money or banks or governments that can't move quickly enough for them to do it. But they're able to solve this supply chain issue both on the financing side and on the fertilizer delivery side.
Okay, interesting. So whenever I do an interview, I always kind of end with this, and so I'll end with this. So is there something that maybe I didn't ask you or you wanted to bring up that maybe we haven't discussed yet, and we're like, oh, I wish, this would have been asked, or I want to talk about this, and I was never given the opportunity. Not that you have to think of anything, Samer, but is there anything in closing that you'd like to leave the viewers or subscribers with that are going to be watching this today, tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now?
Yeah, I just wanted to stress. I talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to stress that this is not a charitable endeavor. This is you know, we're compassionate people, but we're in this because this is a problem that is solvable and has massive impact both for consumers and then also financially. Um, we saw a stat from a McKinsey report that serving the underserved, the 3.5 billion people, has the opportunity for banks alone to increase their revenue by $380 billion.
Mm.
That is a massive opportunity, and I want your viewers to think about this region not as one in need of charity, but as one that is worthy of investment. That there are consumers here that are there. I mean, it's a continent of 1 billion people. Opportunity is crazy, and I think that there's so many solutions, and I would invite others to not only support us and come join us, but develop your own. Come check it out. It's an amazing place.
Oh, that's awesome. So everybody, Samer Saab, co-founder, chief operations officer of the Walla Financial Platform and the Dollar Token. Samer, thanks for being with me, and we'll definitely do this again, okay?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.